A lot has happened since we got off the air Friday. So since we finished our coverage on Friday morning, we learned that the search warrant for Mar-a-Lago revealed former President Donald Trump is being investigated for possible violations of the Espionage Act tied to the mishandling of national defense information or classified material. Now, according to the FBI, 11 sets of classified records were seized from Trump's home, including some marked as top secret, meant only to be available in special government facilities. 2 other laws were also cited as a basis for the warrant, pertaining to removing, destroying, or concealing records and obstruction of justice. According to the search warrant for Mar-a-Lago, agents were allowed to search Trump's office, all storage rooms, and all other rooms available to Trump, his staff, or anywhere documents could be stored. Meanwhile, former President Trump is offering a new line of defense for taking top-secret government documents to his Mar-a-Lago home in Florida, a club.
But by the way, it's about his 12th excuse.
There've been they
keep coming up with excuses. I mean, somebody put it very, very succinctly. I didn't take the documents.
Yeah.
But if I did take the documents, they weren't classified. And if they were classified, then they were planted. And if they weren't, I declassified them. And if I didn't, then it's a hoax. And if it's not a hoax, Obama did it. He keeps changing. He keeps going through the lies. You know, first he said that he was working and cooperating with government agents. Then, when we found out the truth about that, he said the agents planted it. Finally, he started lying, and you're going to talk about this in a second, saying that he had declassified them. And then Sunday, on the Sunday shows, after all of these different stories didn't line up, after all of the lies that he had thrown out there and all of the you-know-what thrown against the wall didn't line up, then he had former aides go on TV and start a new round of lies. One saying, well, you know, he was in a rush. He was just, he was packing. He didn't know whether he was going to leave or not. And then when he found out he was going to leave the White House, I'm not sure why he didn't know that he was leaving the White House. He lost by millions and millions of votes and lost by what he called his own victory, lost by the same number, which he said was one of the greatest landslides in American history in the electoral college count, if you take him at his own words. But he was in such a rush that he just accidentally took some of the boxes. Then another former Trumper, well, still a Trumper, but a former advisor, said it was the GSA's fault. GSA said, no, actually, the responsibility for making decisions about what materials are moved rests entirely with outgoing president and their supporting staff. Any questions about the contents of any items that were delivered, e.g. documents, are the responsibility of the former president and his supporting staff and should be directed to their office. And as John Bolton said, and we're going to be playing this clip later too, Mika, John Bolton, National Security Advisor, said, oh, I didn't know anything about this. And he's just making stuff up. Yeah. He said, when somebody begins to concoct lies like this, it shows a real level of desperation. Well, so we all know he's lying. I mean, there's been, I guess if you counted, 7, 8, 9, 10 different lies. And again, we know he's lying. The disturbing thing is his supporters know he's lying, and they're still his supporters.
I think a lot of people who support Donald Trump, if they heard that, would say, oh, but you're saying he's lying. This is more of, you know, the way people respond to our guy. The thing is that his explanations defy the way things are done when you're dealing with classified documents, and therefore you can deduce that they are a lie. Well, and there are no such things as standing orders that you make up out of thin air.
Also, if he says, I didn't take documents, you find the documents. You can write that down as a lie.
Right.
If you're saying you're cooperating with the FBI and you lie to the FBI and the Justice Department by saying you've returned all the classified documents, you can mark that down as a lie because they didn't return all the classified documents. If you then say, as he said, that you were, quote, raided, and then we find out that not only was he not raided, and not only was this not a shock, but actually wasn't a raid, no doors were knocked down, and Donald Trump and his wife were watching on cameras, I guess the reporting shows. And by the way, all of this is on cameras, including what they've done with the documents over the past several months. So whoever did anything legally or possibly illegally with those documents, it's all on camera. We'll see if they burn the tapes.
Yeah, that'll be
or
interesting.
they throw out the DVR. But so you can say that's a lie. And if you say they were planted, we can now go check. That's a lie. Like his own supporters can just see what's happened over the past week to see that all of these things were a lie. And then we go into the declassification and the hoax. I mean, it was, again, he keeps lying. The first thing he says is always a lie. The second, third, fourth, always a lie as well until he's finally cornered. But again, first he said he was working and cooperating with government agents. He wasn't. He lied to them. And now, Mika, we come back to that there's a standing order here. I mean, it's just, again, this is not a matter of opinion, Mika.
No, I know.
On whether he's lying or not. I know you're trying to be understanding of those who would still want so desperately to believe all of these lies, but they're lies.